Unit 5, Formula 1, Day 2, factoring. Okay, we're going to be spending the next week or so just on factoring. Okay, so factoring means is where you find the factors that multiply together to get the polynomial. Okay, your answers are going to now look like what our problems were looking like. So this used to be what our problem looked like, x plus 5 times x minus 3, but now that's my answer. Okay, so what would happen when I was multiplying those out? If you remember, we would multiply and get x times x, which was x to the second. X times negative 3 was negative 3x. 5 times x was 5x. And 5 times negative 3 was negative 15. Okay, so if you put the two middle terms together, you'd have x squared plus 2x minus 15. So now this is what our problems are going to start like. So let's talk about this for a second. Okay, where did the x to the second come from? Well, the first two numbers, x times x, became x to the second. The last two numbers, 5 times negative 3, gave us this negative 15, right? So these two inside numbers had to add up to give us what's in the middle. Okay, so we're going to have to try to resimulate that. Okay, so number 1, x to the second plus 2x minus 15. So right away, okay, we start with our parentheses. We know this is what our answer needs to look like. And this is going to be called guess and check. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to guess, and if it's not right, we're just going to fix it. Okay, so the first thing, this first term is x to the second. Okay, well, I got to multiply these first two terms to get x to the second. So what two things multiply together to get x to the second? X times x. Okay, so x times x is x to the second, so that part's fine. Now this last part needs to be something that multiplies together to get negative 15. So think of two numbers that would multiply together to get negative 15. Well, positive 5 and negative 3. Okay, so positive 5 and negative 3. And then you got to check and say, okay, that could be my answer, or it could not. So we got to multiply it out. So x times x gives us x to the second, so that part's fine. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. So the part that you have to check is the middle part. Okay, so if you multiplied and you got 5 times x, you get 5x, and x times negative 3, you get negative 3x. Well, positive 5x and negative 3x, does that give me 2x? Yes, so plus 2x. So we are good, so this is my answer. X plus 5 times x minus 3. Let's try another one. Okay, number 2, x to the second minus 2x minus 35. Okay, you can start with your parentheses. The first two terms need to multiply to get x to the second, which would mean x times x. The last two need to get negative 35. So you got to think of all the different things that would multiply to get negative 35. So you'd have negative 5 and positive 7. You'd have negative 7, positive 5. Now you don't need to write these out every time, but you can. You'd have 35 and negative 1, negative 35 and 1. Okay, so I'm just going to start trying some. So I'm going to try negative 5 and positive 7, because I know they need to add up to a 2. So I know it has to be one of those top two. Okay, so if you do this, you do x times x, which is x to the second. Negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. So those two parts are fine. It's the middle part that we have to worry about. So multiply the middle two terms. So negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And x times 7 is positive 7x. Well, is negative 5 plus 7 negative 2? No, so that can't be right. So these are not my numbers. So erase those. Okay, so we got to try a different number. So that was with negative 5 and positive 7, so that's not right. So let's try negative 7 and positive 5. Okay, so now if you multiply, you'd get negative 7x and positive 5x. Okay, because negative 7x, so you do the inside numbers and you do the outside numbers. That's what we're really checking. Okay, so negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2x, which is what my original problem was. So this is now my answer. Okay, so there's going to be times where you don't get it right the first one, maybe even 2 times. Just keep trying. Okay, let's try another one. Number 3, 3x to the second minus 25x minus 18. Okay, so again, we can start with our parentheses. Now this time, my first two numbers have to multiply to 3x to the second. Well, what's going to give me 3x to the second? Well, 3x times x. Okay, 3x times x gives you 3x to the second. My last two numbers need to multiply to get negative 18. Okay, so we got to think of things that are going to multiply to get negative 18. So if you want to make a list, you can. So it'd be negative 3, positive 6, positive 3, negative 6, 2 and negative 9, negative 2, positive 9, 18 and negative 1, negative 18 and 1. Okay, the quicker you get at that, and the less you have to write them all down, the better it's going to be. Okay, so let's just start trying these. So we have negative 3 and positive 6. So if I plug in negative 3 and positive 6, okay, we have the first two. We just got to check the middle terms and the outside terms. 3x times 6 is 18x, and then negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Well, 18x and negative 3x gives me 15x. So we know it's not that. So those numbers don't work. Okay, so now we got to try again. So those first two don't work. Then you do 3 and, or that was negative 3 and 6. We could flip that around and do, let's see, positive 3 and negative 6, which would give me 3x and negative 18x. Again, not working. So that's not going to give me negative 25. You could flip these two around and do my negative 6 and positive 3. 3 times 3 is 9x and negative 6x. That doesn't work either. Okay, so those don't work. Then you could plug in your 2 and negative 9. Okay, so let's do positive 2, negative 9. Well, 3 times negative 9 is negative 27. 2 times x is positive 2x. Negative 27x, positive 2x does give me negative 25x, which is what I wanted. So this is my answer. Okay, so like I said, we could have flipped those around. We could have done all of those. I mean, it could have taken us 8, 10 times. The more you do, the better you're going to get at it. Okay, so 3x plus 2, x minus 9 is my answer. Let's try one more. 2x to the second minus 13x minus 7. Okay, so I start with my parentheses, and I know what's going to give me 2x to the second. 2x and x. Okay, I know that part. Alright, the rest of it, I know the last two numbers need to multiply to get 7, or negative 7. So we need negative 7 and 1, or 7 and negative 1. Those are the only two we can try. Okay, so let's start and just plug them in. So we got negative 7, positive 1. Remember, they need to add up to negative 13x. So 2 times 1 is 2x. Remember, you do the outsides and the insides. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x. 2 and negative 7 give me negative 5, so that doesn't work. Then what you can do is you can flip those around and use positive 1 and negative 7. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14x. 1 and x gives me positive 1x. Negative 14 and 1 gives me my negative 13x. So that was my answer. So my answer is 2x plus 1, x minus 7. Okay, so that's factoring. We'll see you tomorrow.